services and support company based in Bedfordshire. And today we're going to be talking about the AI effect with my very good friend Gavin Jones of MeTime. Gavin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, Lee, thanks. Yeah, morning, everybody. So, yeah, Gavin from MeTime. I'm really passionate about helping people save time at work. And at MeTime, we help organizations get more efficient, happening to use more of Microsoft services. So, great fit for this webinar today. Just loads of stuff coming out in AI, which will take you through from beginner to hopefully some more advanced stuff that in the demo, even Lee didn't know. So hopefully, if you stick around to the end, you might find something out that you didn't know before, which is always be good.
Excellent. I've got to say, Gavin has been helping with some of our clients recently, and one of the things we find as a IT service support company is you get all the problems fixed, you get them working, and all the clients are really having the IT works well, and if they've got an issue, they can call our service desk and it gets fixed. But now it's we want to know more. We want to know how to use this Microsoft suite more. We want to know about all these tools, and I'd say recently in particular, the phrase, "Can you tell us about AI? Have you got an AI policy? What's Copilot?" All these things are starting to come through, and so it's really great for us to have Gabby on board to help us with that and help take us through the conversation. We do have an agenda, so we are organised. We're just going to go through a little bit about the types of AI that are out there, quite high level. We're not going to get too geeky on it, I promise. We're going to go through how we adopt technology, because it's quite interesting to understand how over the past 200-300 years we've adopted technology, and especially how that's got quicker and quicker in the last 100 years. And also we're going to go through how you can use AI in your business today. And the great thing is, spoiler alert, you can use Copilot for free. But we'll let Gavin tell you more about that a little bit later on. And also, Gavin, if I'm not mistaken, you'll have some hot off the press news from Microsoft.
Yes, Microsoft had another announcement on Monday, so we'll go through all the stuff that they announced last year that's still got to come out, and the stuff they announced on Monday to see what's going to come out in the future. But yeah, it's part of the demo. Like Lee says, you got Copilot for free and paid. We'll show you some 3 secret ways that Microsoft probably doesn't want you to know that how you can get some of the best paid features for free if you stick around.
Excellent. I like free.
Yeah.
I like free. That's my Yorkshire roots always come out when the word free is mentioned. There we go. Excellent. So let's get started. I should just point out, if there are any questions along the way, there is a Q&A section in Teams that you can use. Put your question in there. Molly on my team, she's monitoring those questions, and at the end we will go through them and try and answer as many as we possibly can. So, AI. Now, I'm going to admit something here, Gavin. I'm a bit of a Philistine, or I was a Philistine when it came to AI. I am converted. I'm definitely converted. I even had a heated argument with another technology friend of mine last year. We had a big falling out over AI because I'd used earlier parts of, say, ChatGPT. I just found it to be quite limited. I was like, well, what am I going to use this for? It's no different from search in one respect. Yes, it's creating something. And I kind of put it to one side, and very quickly, within a few months, Molly to the left of me in the office is creating content using ChatGPT, and we've got a ChatGPT license, and we've got information that we're using, and suddenly I started to see maybe this could be useful. And I think definitely in the last few months, the last year, it's really started to come into its own. As you can see on screen, we've got some examples of different types of AI models. Now, we tend to use what's called generative AI and large language models, which for the end user, the end person, the daily person on the street, they're all phrases which, what do you mean? So it's quite easy to kind of say, well, you can use AI to create other content from other content elsewhere, and it will bring lots of types of information together. So, for example, say you've got 2 documents that you want to create into a single document. You can reference them in AI and get the content out of there that's relevant to the questions you ask. If you're being in a meeting, you can do all sorts of things like find out transcripts, finds out information about what was said in the meeting. Now, how that information is gathered is these model types. So text to text is you type in the question and it comes out and it uses other text-based information to find that. You can use images. You can search an image to create a brand new image using AI technologies, or even you can have an image and have that be described as text. So there's lots and lots of scope. I think one of the things that I've seen, I'll share one example before I ask Gavin to, is like, it was my friend who I fell out with actually. He trained an AI solution to listen to him and learn his voice, and he's got a very distinct Yorkshire accent, and he spent a lot of time doing that. We asked a question of the AI system: "Can you please make a presentation about XYZ that's 3 minutes long in my voice?" And I would not have been able to tell it wasn't him. I would not have known. And for all I know, I've never spoken to him since. Maybe he's only just sent AI responses to me. It was phenomenal, the power of that solution. Gavin, what sort of examples have you had in real life?
Yeah, so just echo what you said, and I'm sure most other people will be in the same position as you, been fairly skeptical. And I think probably the marketing machine of these large companies got ahead of themselves over the past 10 years or so. They've been calling everything AI when it wasn't really. It was just like a bit of machine learning, or it's just remembering to say Gavin in a email, not really AI. So now, I guess in 2024, when people say AI, like you mentioned, they're talking about the large language models where you can type something in natural language, it comes back to you in natural language, and its main use case, I would say, the easiest use case for someone to have a return on investment if they are getting some paid ones is to summarize lots of information. That's where it's been really useful. So if you do pay for Copilot, the killer app has been in Teams where, like in this meeting or any other meeting you're having, it's doing a transcript, and then you can just ask it to summarize that meeting, take out the actions, and you've like basically replaced a PA if you're using old school sort of minute writing, which I know lots of companies still do. That's been its main sort of killer app, I suppose, is summarizing lots of information. But even over the past week, if not month, then the change is so fast and so explosive that I think now is the time that it's starting to take off, and people will really start to think that this is now useful. Whereas in the past, even over the past 8-9 months, it has not been that useful. Now it's getting more and more useful very, very quickly. So excited to dive into some of those shortly.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. A lot of people have tagged AI just as a marketing term. But at the same time, they've realized, this company's realizing the power, and we're in another land grab for that power. I know one of the key apps that I've used probably for a good 5-6 years is an app called Otter, which is a transcription app that sits on my phone. And it was really good because it would transcribe things, but you would still have to go through things and listen to it. The functionality they've added, and especially very recently, I found it really useful that I can put my phone in the middle of a meeting, I can record that meeting, and it identifies the speakers for me and immediately gives me a summary, and I can search that summary using the AI tools and create content from that. And absolutely fantastic. And we even did this from a phone call recently that we had recorded, and we needed that information, and I was able to put that into that AI solution into Otter, and then say, "Can you give us a summary?" It saved me time. It saved me so much time. That's why I'm a convert. So Alex, it's called Otter.ai. That's OTTR.ai. There you go. So we'll go on to the technology adoption model, which is a very useful thing to know, because it kind of gives a little bit of history. So Gavin, can you take us through how people have adopted technology and the timescales on these sorts of things?
Well, timescales is tricky, but yeah, I think the technology adoption model was originally conceived to like explain like how new technologies entered a marketplace, like people buying iPhones or people, uh, Android catching up, or however, like people selling technology, how that people have adopted that, whether it's Windows 95 or whatever it is now, Windows 11. There's like a curve. So if you think about any individual, there's like a group of people that really like new technology just for the sake of it. I'm in that sort of camp. I would like to keep up to date with stuff that's
Me
going
too.
on. When I advise my clients, though, I know they are not early adopters or innovators. There's going to be a mix of people across the organization. I need to think about how it's going to land for each group of people within an organization. So, although the technology adoption model originally conceived to like think about a piece of technology landing in a marketplace, it's now been more widely adopted, pun intended, to sort of help you think about the change within an organization about how some of these things come out, which we always use at MeTime to sort of land all the things we're doing in Microsoft Teams and trying to help people work in a better way. But specifically around AI, if you think about it in those two different ways, one, the pace of change is so fast and big now that actually we're probably in the middle of that. If you think about that, when you overlay that total amount of people coming into it to that technology, that yellow line, every sort of change is like a series of S curves of progress over time. We're now in that sort of ramping up period where I think a lot of people are going to get quite excited about it now that it is becoming more and more useful, and everyone's into it. So I always think, Microsoft have been pretty ahead of the game investing in OpenAI. Lots of stuff that they released back end of last year and rolling out at the start of this year was cool, but probably not that useful.
Yeah.
Now OpenAI doing lots of developments, and Apple are about to enter the market with Apple Intelligence. I always think when Apple's in it, more they've got mass normal people appeal. So
Yes,
once they're
definitely.
in, everyone starts to pay attention. They'll start using more at work, and
Yeah.
there is a age divide as well. People grown up with technology more likely to adopt new technology. Old duffers like me and Lee, probably the exception that we like new stuff. More people maybe set in their ways, and just not, always think normal people doing normal jobs have got a job to do. They just want to come in, do a good job. They're not going to keep up with all the latest things the way they could do it quicker or better. And that's hopefully how we can help some people today on the call.
Absolutely. I think we had a family dinner the weekend, and one of my family had actually run their own webinar in their company on AI, and they're not a technologist at all. But because the demand was in that organization for people to know about it, and she didn't understand AI such, and she educated herself, and she went and ran this for the whole organization, and also got them using AI in the webinar. And I'm like, hang on a sec, I'm the technology one of the family. What's this? So it's showing that this is moving at such a pace. It's going past the technologist. My mum accused me at Christmas of wasting my money on technology and gadgets all my life. And I'm like, well, it's helped me okay in my career and it kept me prepared. But even I'm not, being overtaken by others at the moment. It's so interesting how this is going on. I think one of the things that we've noticed in Node IT is we're a multi-generational company. There are people who are still in the late teens to people in their 50s in our organization. We all work together. And one of the benefits of multi-generational teams in when new technologies comes out is all the people that work in my organization want to know about tech full stop. But it's really interesting to see how some of the younger people in my organization have already adapted AI into their daily work function. I had a great conversation with Molly and Sam the other week about this, and both of them were like, yeah, we use AI already, and we're using it as part of our daily work. I'm using Copilot. Pam in our team is using Copilot on a daily basis. And Pam and I are a bit older than they are. I'm not going to put any ages into that. We do regular service reviews with our clients. And at the end of that meeting, Pam was spending probably a good hour writing up the notes, manually typing them up, and then getting them notes verified and sent out to the client. Now it's a 10-minute, 15-minute task, and she can get that information straight to the client so that we're keeping in touch with them. It's a fantastic tool. And that was something that we didn't have a year ago. So, it's phenomenal that we've got that capability.
One thing I was just gonna, sorry, Lee, just before you flip on, sorry to make you go backwards.
I can go backwards.
One thing I was just going to mention is, if some people are behind, I think the technology adoption was like showing you that's okay. There are always people that are going to be after other people.
Absolutely.
And the general rule of thumb for those gates there on the adoption model, like innovators and early adopters, you can sort of broadly take together because you don't know whether the innovators, the people making technology, early adopters, people using it, but early majority usually that first majority of people aren't going to use it until they can see it's useful. And I think we're probably there at abouts. Late majority won't go onto it until they see the majority of other people using it, and the laggards won't get onto it until there's no other option apart from to use it. So there's always going to be people that are not going to get on board, and that's okay. You just got in any population of people that's going to be the case. So
I think it's important that people understand it's there and being used, and when it's being used, and being open about that as well, because some people may be suspicious about it. They may be thinking the computer's going to take over the world. A little clue: always say please and thank you to AI. You never know about what may happen in the future. It's all of us that are polite, that'll be okay. But it's going to be across, this technology is going to be across all aspects of our lives, and hopefully making life better in many ways as well. So, but we have to be ready for the change and ahead of it where possible, and also ready to inform people so they feel they understand what is happening. Also, being honest about the limitations, because there are limitations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But today, let's go through some of these. You had a little hint a second ago. Some of the benefits. I mean, we've talked about, in our own experience of using it in the office. I personally use Copilot extensively now. I've used it on the go for writing emails. One of the lovely things I learned about writing emails with Copilot was to say, please make it sound like me. And that did very simple things of changing bits of the language and changing how I greeted people and how I sign off my emails. Because the first set of emails I sent with Copilot, I was like, I didn't know it could sound so formal. In fact, I think I even got that as feedback from somebody. It sounded very formal today, Lee. I was like, okay, that's not me. But it does take a bit of time in Copilot for it to learn how you email. And that's the thing, it's always listening in when you're doing that work. As I say, we use it in our reviews, but also, if someone sends us information or tender, or they've sent us information about their company, it allows us to quickly summarize that. The way that I've used AI recently was last week. I was in my peer group and we had some talks given to us, and I was able to record those talks and then get a summary back of the talk. But also I could search for specific information, and then could extract that data and put it into a document that I can use for my own reference in the future. Whereas before I was spending more time writing things down in my notebook or typing it on my keyboard. You don't generally always listen. But being able to be present in the room and know your notes are taken for you and that you can go back to that is incredibly powerful. Again, it's always important to let people know you are doing that, because you never know if some personal information gets recorded. So you don't just do it blindly. What about yourself, Gavin? How are you using it on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so Meeting Notes has been, like I say, the killer app. I still like to write my notes down, although I do have an iPad to write on. But I find the art of writing something just makes it go in your brain a bit better. So it's not like, I always think, we're not trying to replace things where it doesn't need to be replaced. But like you say, taking an hour to type up a meeting when it's just unnecessary, when you can get the same thing done literally within a couple of seconds, copy and paste, and you're done. Like, there's no point adding stuff in where it's now unnecessary. So yeah, Meeting Notes is a great one. We'll go through comparing contracts. So that was something that we'll have a look at paid versus free on the next slide. But comparing contracts, something that if you did have Copilot paid, which we'll go into some of the terminology as well, but if you paid for Copilot, a month or so ago, Microsoft sent out an email saying, "Oh, based on some feedback we've got, actually people have said this would be useful." So it can like have two different documents and show you the difference between them, which we'll have a look at how you can do that for free as well without paying. And the biggest thing I think that people have used AI for already is probably marketing stuff. So if you're saying just generate me a blog post, generate some Twitter things, I guess that was in a lot of the demos when large language models first came out, just to show that it can write like a human. Although, you know, over very quickly, humans are like, why is it always saying the same words? Why does it always sound dead formal? Like you have, but that also is changing quite quickly to sound more natural and more human-like. So we'll have a look at some of those as well.
Excellent. I think one of the first things I did was say to ChatGPT, please create me some marketing materials about an IT services company in Yorkshire dialect. And it did. And it was great. And I was like, well, we could maybe start marketing then out with our Yorkshire roots. And I know that Molly has used Copilot and ChatGPT extensively within our elements. She's also used some of the AI functionality in Canva, but wasn't as impressed with that at the moment. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? There are different types of AI and there's different maturity of AI and all the different tools that you've got out there.
Yeah, it was interesting. Microsoft at the start of their thing on Monday was saying, AI is going to be ubiquitous, and actually it's the front end that's going to be the differentiator, which I thought was funny because Microsoft are always, generally not that good at building front ends, particularly. So I thought it was, but I do agree with them. That's probably going to happen. Most of the different AIs that are out there, like Canva or whichever third party is being used, is all running through OpenAI's model anyway, because that's the easiest one for people to access. There's loads of different ones. Obviously, Google's got their own, and another one, Claude, I think's out there. But I think there was something done where whatever you train the model on, they end up being very, very similar at the end. So it is like actually just then making it useful that is the last hurdle. But just as you were talking, it just reminded me, although there's lots of different stuff of AI out there, I guess people might be concerned about, well, if I let my employees use those things, is my data getting out? Is it being used to train a model? There was a high profile one where the Samsung employees were using ChatGPT a year or so ago and put stuff on there that was used to train the model, and actually they were putting stuff on there that wasn't out in the public domain yet. And so that then in the model was Samsung's IP. So if we're going to focus on Microsoft today, because that's the easiest way that you can protect your data and be, have some comfort that your data isn't going to leave and and leak out.
One of the things I've recently been seeing about is what's called local AI. So that is AI that doesn't use the internet and it stays within your home or within your business. It's used to control devices in your home. The sort of Alexa type things, but actually having versions which can run home automation or IoT, but have no internet connectivity at all. And there's a lot of progress coming in making these local models, because that is a concern. Absolutely. So let's go into Copilot, which is the Microsoft AI tool. As you can see, there's a paid version and a free version. Now, I think, Gavin, you are the man who can explain to us how people can get things for free, but also what you get included. I know this is your speciality.
Yeah, so I think most normal people would call it paid and free. Microsoft have got loads of different Copilots. They talk about Copilot for sales, they talk about Copilot for Dynamics, they talk about Copilot for security, loads of different stuff, Copilot in every app. But broadly, as normal people would use it, there's Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is paid, which they just recently changed the name on Monday to Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is slightly less tongue twister.
I
And then, but
remember,
they're still called
Gavin. I remember when it was called Clippy, so that's a while ago.
Clippy. Yeah. Bring back Clippy. Um, that'd be way easier. And then there's Microsoft Copilot, which is the free one. So I think even since we did the table, some of this might have changed. But yeah, if you pay, you get that you basically, as the video shows, if you can rerun it, but no worries if not, that's where if you pay for Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, that's where Copilot shows up in pretty much every Microsoft app. So it's in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, shows up in Teams, wherever you've got a Microsoft app, they're gonna, it's either there already or they're building it in. So you can just access AI directly from where you are in the context of what you're already doing. I think was faster response times probably when we did the chart, but it's not now. Or both of those, whether it's free or paid, is using the latest OpenAI model. So I think they invested £13 billion into OpenAI, dollars rather. So they get all the latest stuff that OpenAI is doing. So so Copilot is now using ChatGPT 4.0, and only last week OpenAI announced that they've got another model, which is O1, which has got greater reasoning. And I've not had a play around with that one yet to see if that's actually any more useful for stuff you might do at work, but it is more useful if you're in like science or mathematics, where it can actually think through some like quite tricky problems. And that is where, get into the realms of like, well, can it actually code better than a coder potentially?
It
But yeah,
is
if you pay,
interesting. Sorry, it is interesting what you said there about it appearing everywhere. Because I've got Copilot in PowerPoint, in Word, in Excel.
Mhm,
But I don't agree. I find it's got different capability. I found PowerPoint to be quite limited, but
mhm.
I found Excel to be really quite powerful, and Word and Outlook to be really good. So it's really interesting how they are getting it out everywhere. And we're even going to, in the next generation of Windows machines, going to have a Copilot key on the actual keyboard,
Yeah.
which is that's adding keys to keyboards is a big deal usually. So yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, broadly, if you pay for it, it's got integration into Microsoft 365. It's secure in your tenant, and it can see everything that you've got access to. So whether it's in your OneDrive or any SharePoint site you've got access to, you can ask it about data, you can ask it about emails, you can ask it about meetings. It's got purview into your work. The free one doesn't have that. It's just, a sort of standalone thing that can go into the web, but doesn't have any access to your data. But if I take control, I can show you some of the ways that you can get
Please
some of
do.
the best things of paid Copilot for free. So let me just pick the right window. Hopefully you can see that. Let me know.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm in Chrome, so I don't use Edge. But if you go to copilot.microsoft.com, you can get access into the free Copilot. If you have got Microsoft, if you pay for it, I think it appears as like a side little bar
Yes,
in
it does.
Microsoft 365 and appears in Teams as a little side bar. What they announced on Monday is that they're sort of aligning paid and free. So I think the free one will appear in Teams at some point in the future. Who knows when Microsoft rolls stuff out? If you go into the free one, if you go into Edge, it should have a big Copilot button right in the top
Yes.
right corner where it's sort of stolen some of your screen off you, which is nice of them, where you can go straight to Copilot. If you pay for Copilot, you've got work and web. So works where you pay for it, and it can access all your work data, and webs where the free one where it can just go into the web. What I'm going to show you now, which is what OpenAI and ChatGPT changed, and therefore Microsoft sort of got and updated their Copilot, is the ability to attach a file into the chat. So one thing when they moved to the latest ChatGPT model was this text box used to have like a character limit of something quite limited, like 2000. They've expanded it out. It's not infinite, but you can copy and paste a lot more data in there. Some of the benefits from having Copilot in Word was that you can ask it something about an entire document, and that was beneficial, and you had to pay to get that, and that was useful for my work at least. Now you can attach a document, then actually that benefit sort of diminishes a little bit. there is obviously a larger amount of stuff you can put in Word than you can attach. It does have some file limits, but let's have a look. So if I click the attach button, and we'll go through like the Teams meeting summaries. So if you did pay for Copilot, you can ask Copilot in Teams to do your meeting summary, and it'll do it straight away. If you don't have paid, you can download the transcript, because Teams does a transcript for free, upload it into your free Copilot, which I've just done there. So I've got as we were preparing for this webinar, we had a meeting about the webinar, and got a transcript of it. You can upload that in there. As long as you've signed in, I should say, with your work account, which you can see your own little icon at the top, and it's got commercial data protection with a little tick, and you can, if you're data conscious, you can sort of click on that and it'll give you some more information about how it is protecting your data and what data goes to the model and XYZ. You could have some comfort that it's not going to go and get leaked anywhere. It's going to be the most private AI that you can use, rather using ChatGPT or another model. Copilot is at least trying to protect your data a little bit. And we can ask the same prompt as we would do in Teams. So we're just going to say generate meeting notes and attach that meeting transcript. It's going to read the file, know it's a meeting transcript, and then give us something very similar to what we'd get if we paid for Copilot and had it directly in Teams. So it's one extra step to download your transcript and upload it into free Copilot. But you can see it's got the attendees, it's got what we talked about, had some technical issues as we were getting on, and some of the actions as well. It then says, can you got some prompts for you. So can you add action items to the meeting notes? We click that, it's going to redo the meeting notes and just give us some actions at the bottom. So you can pull out what we said we were going to do, which is cool. And then it's also got some other prompts for you. So maybe you want to click Make Me Smile. I'm not sure it would pop up there, but you can say include a section on decisions made. That might be useful. So we can click that and it's going to go through that transcript and rewrite it. Excuse me, including the action, the stuff that we just said, what decisions we made. You can copy and paste that and stick it back into wherever you're going to do it. If you paid for Copilot and had it in Teams, that at the time we'll do this webinar, the same thing's true. It just gives you text of the actions and text of the decisions. Those actions don't go anywhere. As we come onto some of the future things, that's changing, or Microsoft announced that it's going to change in the future to make that a bit more useful. But as we talk right now, that's pretty much what you get from Teams, and that's the best thing that comes from paid. So hopefully that's useful for people. If you didn't know, you could upload a file there. If so, again, the second thing that they announced for paid was that they can compare to contracts, because Copilot appears in Teams and you can knows all the files you've got. You can like pick the files you want to compare straight from OneDrive or SharePoint. Obviously, in free, it doesn't have a view into your work, but you can upload to contracts and get it to do the same thing. So if that was going to take you ages, this might be useful. As a little real life example, I was in a sort of peer group networking workshop, and someone was saying that they sold their business. He was in the US, going backwards and forwards about the contracts to sell his business multiple times. Obviously, he's got his legal team to check through it. He was checking through all the contracts, and there's one tiny thing that he just wanted to change, literally at the last minute before the handshake and the deal got done. And the other party, went and changed loads of the other terms that they hadn't talked about, and he didn't recheck it just in that last 30 seconds of getting the deal done, and actually got done over in his deal. If he did use this, he would have just been able to compare them quite quickly, just have a final check through and say, yeah, well, okay, let's sign. So we said, can you compare two contracts? It's like, absolutely, please upload two contracts that we compare. So we'll just go and pick those. This is just a contract that I got off the internet, so it's standard terms and conditions for professional services. Either you can have a PDF or a Word document. We're going to use PDF just to make it slightly harder for it to read potentially. We'll upload the first document. Hopefully it's going to work. A live demo. And we'll upload the second document. Oh, here we go. So it won't let me do two at the same time. So let me say, oops. Here's the first one. Cool. And it's the second one.
It's great how it instructs you.
Yeah.
Tells you
Yeah,
what
if
it
you tell
needs
it
to
what you want to
do.
do, it'll try and help you along, which is nice.
It's always when we try to do things ourselves how we think it should be done that computers get annoyed. Now they can tell us.
Yeah. No, don't click that button. Right. So here's the second one. So can I read both of those? And you can see it's got the changes that I made. So the price is different by £5,000. And one of the things that I did was a bit naughty was there was a clause that says upon completion of termination of the consulting services, the client is under no obligation to offer further work, and the consultancy is not under any obligation to accept any offer of work. Just changing a couple of words, it's like, well, upon completion, the client is under obligation, and the consultancy is under obligation to accept the offer, which is obviously a massive change. And that's 14 pages of legalese, terms and conditions, and you can see it's actually tried to pull out, the similarities as well as what's changed, which might be pretty useful.
We should point out that this isn't how Gavin normally operates in business. He is a fair-minded person, and this was for demonstration purpose only.
Absolutely. There are people, there's unscrupulous people out there, and, there's legalese stuff for a reason. People aren't going to go and sift through it, and now you can use AI to pull stuff out. You could even, I think it does this in OneDrive by default, but if you like to see it in a table, you can just say, can you just outline these in a table for me, if you like a table format, and it'll do it in a table for you. So it's then even summarize that obligation for further work even further, just to make it really crystal clear on what's changed, which I think is pretty cool.
I was at a Microsoft Copilot training day in August, and there were people there that table you've created there, and there was one gentleman who created. He was a coder by trade, I think, in an earlier life, and he created very elaborate questions and set up to put things into tables. So each day you just copy this into Copilot, run it, and it would give him, right, these are the outstanding tasks you've got to get done. Here's your priorities for today based on your calendar and various elements. And it was quite incredible what he'd put together just to show that. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to copy and paste it from him, so which would have been very useful. But I think that's amazing that you're able to see that information and so quickly and easily. The amount of times where, as you said, your example, you said you're going through things, and as a business owner, you're busy. You might be having someone else asking you a question, and you're like, you get distracted, and you can easily make a mistake like that. So to have that information in front of you straight away is fantastic. And this is free, you say?
This is free, and I guess the free one has been a bit limited. It was more to like, can you? And in the last demo, I guess most people might use it for marketing. So good segue, Lee. You could say like, most people might use it for marketing and like linked it to the web, because I guess like it says at the top, it's got access into Bing. I'm not sure anyone uses Bing of their own volition, but it'll go in to find stuff out the web for you and pull it out. So you could say, well, can you create me like 3 Twitter posts to promote various Node IT services based on our website, please? Always say please, like you say, and show a website. It'll go and scrape that website and pull out some things that might, I think, sound pretty good for some Twitter posts, especially if you just want to get stuff out there and just keep your content going. That's what most people might have tried before. Seems like a little map thing to look to show you where you are. And maybe
don't worry, Molly, your job is safe. You're fine.
And I don't know if people are aware, but like free Copilot's also got access to do into DALL-E 3 from OpenAI, so it can generate some images straight in there. Oh, here we go. I'm trying to sign in, but it can generate images without leaving. You'll also see I've got a Microsoft Designer link there, which is the way you can go and generate some AI, straight in. If you just know you want to do visuals, you can go to Microsoft Designer and tell it to do something. It'll generate some images for you. Won't bother trying to sign in because it'll.
I think this is an important point, Gavin. You've seen it because I've come across this. Where certain features like Microsoft Designer and etc., they require a personal Microsoft account. So that could be an Outlook or maybe even Hotmail all my life. For
Sometimes,
those
yeah.
who've still got a Hotmail account,
I mean, at I've
which
still
is a
got
little
Hotmail.
off.
Yeah,
It's a little off-putting. You're coming out of your work environment at that
yeah,
point.
yeah.
So it's interesting. I'd like to see some of these things that Microsoft bring into that Microsoft 365 fold as we move
Well,
along.
interestingly, and I think this is a good demo, I was going to prepare some slides in case the demo went wrong. And I thought, no, actually, it's important that people see that it does go wrong.
Mm,
So if it does go wrong, it goes wrong. This is a live demo. But yeah, as you try, like, I guess one of the main downsides of AI is if you ask it exactly the same question at a different time, you might get a different answer, even in the
right.
text stuff. So if I can't remember last time I did it, but if I said, could you create me 3 Twitter posts to promote Node IT, blah blah, with exactly the same prompt, it might come up with 3 different Twitter things. It won't give you the same answer each time.
Right.
It changes by day, it changes by time of the day, whatever it's doing, it's not like consistent.
And
Similarly, when I tried this before this demo, it would create those images without me signing in for a personal account. So
yeah,
it's on the curve of being like readily adopted, but know that it is gonna, do some quirky things.
yeah, absolutely. And
But
also the
yeah,
content it looks at may change as well in the background. So
yeah,
we
yeah,
may have updated our website literally in the last 5 minutes.
yeah.
to, that information can alter what comes out of that.
But yeah, last bit of demo before we move on is, I guess most people might have tried some marketing-y stuff. I guess the new bit is like being able to have an attachment. So what we're not going to cover in the demo is, which might be useful, especially if you're in IT, say you got like a list of customer complaints in an Excel file and you're always updating that, we got download. It's all, if you've got Copilot paid in Excel, you can, interrogate that data. But if you just upload that file into here, you can say, well, pull me out like what are the top 3 gists of people complaining about, and just get a really, what we're going to attack this quarter. Let's go and address our customer complaints. You can do that for free pretty quickly. But I guess the point is the free one can now be grounded in any file that you've got. So on the same marketing thread, say we had that same meeting transcript, and I do this with with meetings I'm having, is like obviously you're going to say some cool stuff during a webinar or during a call, and it actually can reuse that as marketing stuff. So, even on our call that we had before, I'm saying, well, can you just write me a blog post based on our other meeting? And then you've got also, content just to go straight out without someone
Wow.
then writing loads of stuff. And it gives you like quite a good gist for free. If it's then got stuff like, I think it was talking about Gavin Jones and Lee Wood, it's like, well, actually, it's a blog post. I don't really want to talk about our call. It's like, cool, we'll just say, well, can you remove any specific details, including names of people and companies, and make it more general of overarching lessons that might be useful for a blog post? And it's like, yeah, cool, I'll go and redo it.
Excellent. That's
So
amazing.
there's loads of stuff you can just, for marketing purposes, it is, I think, pretty good. It started to get rid of some of those AI artifacts where it used to say like unfurl and unleash and all the random words that it used that normal people may not use. And then I guess if you were big into social media, the thing that gets quite a lot of engagement is polls. So you can say, well, can you even create me a poll? If you can't think of a poll, create me a poll based on some of the meetings we've had. And like everything we've asked it, because we've uploaded that file, is grounded in the file. And like you were saying, not too long ago, if you wanted to ground the AI in something that, is personal to you, you had to be a coder and like generate your own thing and get it to train it on your data. And like even over, 8, 9 months, even like 2 or 3 months, it's changed. So like, normal people can get that power just by uploading one file, and it's then grounded in that data really quickly.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I just say I don't understand this customer complaints that you're referring to. This is not something we're familiar with.
5-star, pull out the best 5-star reviews for use on our
Great.
website.
I think that's where
Yeah,
we're going. Great
yeah,
customer feedback. That's what we talk about.
yeah,
And but no, it is really important, and we've got tools that allow to bring our service desk information and um, interrogate that in a different way to what we've ever been able to do. Because if you can find trends and AI can allow us to find the trends in our service desk, it just means that we can help our clients better. And our team know we can be prepared and we can be more proactive. And being proactive is a really important part of our industry. So, yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I'm just going to go back in. I've noticed the time. We'll just quickly talk about a couple of things. And actually, I think you just jumped on a little bit there about how, at the moment, understanding how to prompt is important. And we discussed this recently ourselves, didn't we, Gavin? Where you shouldn't need to know how to prompt. But right now, Microsoft are kind of saying knowing how to prompt is important, and that how to ask AI for the things you want to do, it can give you better results. But as things progress on, as you say, the more natural language, the AI is going to start giving us the elements. This was GCSE, which Microsoft gave me recently, and it's simple. Know what your goal is, give it some context, give it a source of where the information is, and set the expectations. And if you do that, you will get a much better result out of your AI questioning. And it was interesting because before I saw this, I was almost feeling my way around it, and then I'd get a bit annoyed that it wasn't giving me the answers I needed. But even just seeing from your demonstration there, you're putting a lot less information in already. And this was advice I was given in the middle of August. So as we move through the next year, as more, because the thing you got to bear in mind, we're all training it. It's learning from us every day. But like any question, just asking in your team a question, this is a great bit of advice. If you want to get the best out of it and get accuracy, learning how to prompt right now will probably make your adoption of AI easier. And that was the thing that Microsoft were trying to say to me, was like, people have struggled to get a result and then go, oh, I don't want this, and walk away and don't see the value on it. So teaching people how to do the GCSE is very important.
Yeah, I agree. Like the GCSE thing definitely works, but like you say, it, like from my point of view, if a normal person is going to use it, they're not going to step through that thing. They're going to do what Microsoft has said. It's like, I'll try it, it didn't work, I'm going to do something else. So my perspective is, well, Microsoft should do more to make the prompts dead easy. So like, as you've seen, even when we were going through it, it's actually giving you some quite relevant suggestions. Like, I've asked for a meeting summary. It's like, well, do you want the actions? Yeah, and I just click it. I don't need to think about, can you write, before even like, the start of the year, you'd have to go through all these 4 things very meticulously. Say, well, can you give me a meeting summary? I want it to be concise with bullet points, and I want some actions at the end, and I want a decision made. Like, even from then to now, it's just like, just give me some notes. Just got it. Okay, well, I actually want some actions as well. Okay, got that. Done it. Put it, add it on. So so more and more it's going to be baked in, like what the expectations are. Even in the paid one, Microsoft had an example where they'd send you emails saying, oh, have you tried XYZ? You can go into Copilot in Teams and say, can you pull me out the email summary of like the last week or whatever. And then quite quickly, like, well, actually that's really useful, we'll just make it a button. It's like, just give me a recap of what I need to know. Cool.
There's another tool again that they demonstrated to us, but it's not a Microsoft tool. It's a free open source tool called Prompt Buddy. Now, you would need your IT team to install this. I had to get one of my team to install it on our Microsoft 365 tenancy. And that allowed you to save different prompts that people are using and also have prompts available to different members of the team. It was a really, really useful tool. So it was kind of, so it doesn't, the information stay with one person. Lots of people can use these prompts and collaborate and even put their own prompts in. It was a really fancy tool. I fully expect that to be something that eventually one day we'll just see as a button or just part of the process. But right now, I mean, it was quite interesting. All the Microsoft people in the room were, oh yeah, Prompt Buddy, and I was like, what's that? And sent a message to James and my team, and he checked it out. And by the end of the day, I had it, and it was working. So, I think if we just quickly round up on the benefits again, the things that we've gone through today. So the benefits, basically, we're using it at Node IT. And I think we are, as I say, Molly's been using it in marketing really for the last year and has really helped her in her role to be productive. She's our only dedicated marketing person in the business. And she's got multiple roles, organizing events like this, putting out all our information, lots and lots of things like that. And so for her, it's allowed her, she says it's her, basically her partner in the business that allows her to get content out there. And we're using it in our meetings, support our clients, get that information together, and so that we can be more responsive. And also know what we said, because sometimes, people can think, oh, what was said in that meeting? So it's really useful, especially in teams. And as Gavin said, I thought that was a great example on the contracts, because reading the contract is quite dull. And so, yeah, and well, I think the thing to bear in mind though is you should always read your contract all the way through, even if the AI says it's got everything. Yeah, and I think making sure you've got that green shield if you're using it in your Microsoft 365 tenancy, that gives you the reassurance that Copilot is keeping the information within your tenancy and it's not using it and publishing it elsewhere, like Samsung did. Which is, it happens to the best of us, and it happens in early adoption. People get excited and don't really think. And that does bring me on to an idea of just saying you should have a policy in your business of how people use AI. That's a really, really important thing. What about yourself, Gavin? Anything you would share?
Policy is, sorry, I was just going to say the simplest policy if you get confused about AI is like this policy could be just use Copilot because it's doing everything that ChatGPT does anyway, and it's got your commercial data protection on. So if that's all you did, you'd still get 8% of the benefits for 20% of the work of trying to think through what your policy is going to be. But broadly, it's like be mindful of personal data, GDPR stuff, and don't put anything on there that you don't want to get leak. So even when it's got commercial data protection on, Microsoft still says like be wary about putting personal stuff on there just because they don't want to get sued, I think. But yeah, it's always be aware about what you put on there. Most of my stuff's public domain anyway, so I do a lot of stuff on free for YouTube. I use ChatGPT to summarize my YouTube videos, and everything's out there anyway. Google's probably stolen it already, so I'm not particularly bothered about it getting my stuff. But where I'm doing something for a client, like that's staying in Microsoft because I don't want that to go elsewhere.
Yes, absolutely. And any further hot off the press news from Microsoft?
Yes, so I think we've got a little show reel I can talk to if you flip onto the next slide. So there's lots of stuff coming in paid, which is going to make it more useful. So ChatGPT, OpenAI did something a while ago where it's going to get voice to voice, video to video, rather than transcribe it to text. So like it can understand what it's seeing. So in this example, someone's holding up a shoe on a website saying, I want this the same shoe. Can you sort of sort me out a shoe, please? And the AI is like doing that live. It's more like talking to a human, which I think is going to blow people's minds. It can understand your screen. So this was ChatGPT like looking over a Teams meeting, and then it can find people's voices just by what it's seeing and do the meeting transcript and stuff without it going into a transcript and then being summarized. So the output might be quite similar, but feels completely different. It feels like more like you're talking to a person. There's team co-pilots coming, so that's where it's more acting like an employee in your organization doing stuff for you. So here's an example. It's like typing into giving you actions, whereas at the moment it just gives you a text of an action. This is actually typing into a loop, meeting notes, and it's more like you can invite it into a chat and get it to do stuff. It's like, oh, Copilot, can you go and do this? And it's more like a colleague that's helping and writing the decisions made and stuff in there. Agents, they announced, I think earlier in the year, and last year they re-announced it on Monday, so that's coming hopefully before the end of the year. Licensing was a bit confusing from their presentation, to be honest, but here's where you can, get it to do stuff. So more, again, working independently, acting like a service desk person. So like pretend you're a service desk person, answer questions on blah blah blah, and then you can point it to say, well, here's the knowledge you need to know. So like one SharePoint site with all of the stuff in, maybe it's HR policies or whatever, and you get stuff from there, and also link it into, they show dynamics, go and update this employee record as well. So bit more useful, as well as like being able to link it into a SharePoint site, like I just mentioned. So here's we can select a document or a series of documents and create a specific Copilot just on that. Publish that out to your organization. Say, here's the Copilot that answers your questions on, employee expenses or whatever. So in my corporate job, trying to find out how much if you could claim a tenner back for lunch when you went to see a client, took you like probably 3 hours of searching through the throughout the whole place. And now you can get that done for you. And this is where, like, if you do SOPs or anything, this is where you can get like Copilot linking into Power Automate to say, well, just talk me through and show me the process that you do on screen. It can understand your screen, understand your voice, and create an automation to do that SOP for you, rather than then training someone else to do it, which I think is pretty cool. That was stuff they announced earlier in the year or last year. They didn't mention any of this bit actually again on Monday, so presuming that's not going to come out yet. But they have got Ignite. Microsoft Ignite is the big announcement thing for Microsoft, which is in November from memory. So they might announce more things there. The marketing for Microsoft is always a bit bizarre, where they re-announce things they have announced before, but don't say that it's an announcement. It's like, is this new, or have I heard it before? I'm not sure. Sometimes, but yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming. So if you had, from right now, from the demos we showed, you can get some of the good benefits from paid for free, but the paid thing's going to come on way faster as well, obviously, because Microsoft need to make some money back from their $13 billion.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that Joe and my team immediately will just want that just for the SOP. She loves creating SOPs, and she's really good at making SOPs. She'll probably tell it off for making it wrong, but I think that'll be a really useful tool to bring in. I think some great things coming through there. Absolutely.
So none of the things in that video are available now. So if you go and
I get that.
buy it, don't think that's that.
There's a lot of jam
and I don't sell
tomorrow.
Microsoft licenses, so I'm just hoping that you save some time.
Well, if you, with regards to licensing, have a chat with us. We've got all the information on licensing for Copilot, and our licensing partner Pax8. They've been doing a whole lot of work with Microsoft and Copilot as well, so we can help you with the different types of licensing that's available. Lovely, thank you, Gavin. Now, Molly, have we got any? I think there were some questions that came along. If anyone's got any questions now, we've got 2-3 minutes. Maybe we can go through some of them.
Hello. Yes, we do have some questions. So we've got one from Luke, which says, in the example, how does it determine who is who? So I think he was referring to the Teams transcript. Yeah.
So the transcript comes from Teams, and the great, if you do a full Teams meeting and everyone's on their own dedicated Teams, everybody's named, so he knows who spoke when about what. So it literally puts your name against everything. So he knows who you are, Luke, basically. One of the things what Copilot doesn't do is, if you're just in a general meeting, it doesn't do that without the Teams functionality. So if you're on a Teams room, it doesn't say who is who in that room at the moment. Maybe, Gavin, that is coming.
It is coming, yeah. So Microsoft allowed like some hardware to do like people sensing, for want of a better word,
right?
Hearing who the different people is. I think EU were on at them saying, well, why does it need to be hardware? And they're like, oh yeah, that's true. We'll just do it in software. So they're doing it at the back end. So basically, it's coming to everything, but it's coming to Teams Room on Windows first, then Teams Room on Android, and then just if you take your laptop into a room. But basically, I think you need to tell it your voice, and then once you've done that across the whole organization, whether you're in a meeting room or not, it'll still pull out the speaker. Yeah.
Which is how I use Otter at the moment. So in Otter, it'll pick up all the different voices. It'll have speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. It recognizes my voice, funnily enough, because it's heard me enough times. So if there's new speakers, I just name them. It then analyzes the whole text and just attributes anything that person said. So I'm assuming Microsoft will be doing the very same. Molly.
Okay, we have one from Haley, which says, presumably Copilot doesn't have PI insurance, so you can't rely on its advice to make business decisions on a contract. You would still need to review it yourself and or take legal advice. Are you suggesting using this as a first review and then seeking further advice?
Absolutely, Hayley. 100%.
I figured that would be a quick yes.
Yes, most definitely. Always seek legal advice, and there was a fantastic court case in America where someone defended themselves using ChatGPT and quoted case law against the judge, and the judge went, "What?" and then looked at it, and none of that case law was real. He had made it all up.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it is not your lawyer yet.
No. Yeah.
Maybe one day, but
Okay,
definitely.
we have another question from Carol. Can Copilot generate email templates based on deadlines? For example, 12 weeks from an employee's start date to save putting in these deadlines in my calendar as a prompt.
It can't. Well, you can schedule emails from Outlook. It can generate some emails for you. So you say, if you're having trouble writing the email, that it could write it for you. But it doesn't at the moment like go and put stuff in your calendar for you. That's not anything they've announced either. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question is from Darren. Is there a file size limit on the free version of Copilot? And is this the same as the paid version?
Great question. Yes and no. so I'm not sure what the limit is. I'm not sure if it's disclosed, but yeah, if I tried to, so I've got a book coming out on Microsoft Teams adoption. If I try and put that entire book as a file in free, doesn't let you. So it's like the file's too big. If I do it in Word, it's like the 150 odd pages or whatever it is at the moment. You can interrogate that entire thing in paid. So yes, there is a limit, but you should hopefully get the best out of paid for free. So you can always like chop it down and give it a smaller version of that file. And that contract was like 14 pages of like dense text. So most stuff that people do at work hopefully would fit in there. But yeah, there is a limit, and it's not the same as the paid one. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all the questions for now.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Gavin. It's been really interesting this morning. You've showed me some things I didn't know about because they're so hot off the press. And I think it's really interesting how you can learn and start using Copilot. I think if you've got it in your business and you don't see the green shield and you're one of our clients in particular, get in contact. And even if you're not one of our clients, get in contact and we'll see if we can help you. I think we'll do this again as this moves along. I think this is definitely a subject that is going to change and improve over the next few months, as we've already discussed. So thank you very much, Gavin, for joining us today, and for everybody who's been on the webinar. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, guys.